lost his home, became homeless, but now he started a thriving business. I interviewed an addict who overcame his addiction, and now he went into the ministry, and now he's helping others get over their addiction. And I was looking for, after every interview, I was looking for like 3 or 4 or 5 factors. How do these people go from tragedy to transcendence? Well, I didn't discover 4 or 5 factors. I discovered to my amazement that each one of them went through the same stages, in the same order, to transcendence. But it makes sense. Kubler-Ross discovered stages. We know Piaget discovered cognitive stages of development. We all know there's physiological stages, so why not stages of transcendence? And so here's the stages. The first stage is, everyone said it was a wake-up call. It was like the tragedy slapped them in the face, and they awoke into their life, and now they realize they're not at a place they should be, they're not as happy as they want to be, and they must move in a new direction. A lot of them said it was like they were sleepwalking through life, and the tragedy slapped them in the face, which led to the second stage. They flipped the switch. They realized this terrible moment had purpose in their life. And because it had purpose, they must change. They must change. And because they must change, they get way out of their comfort zone. And once they get way out of their comfort zone, they realize strengths and talents they never knew existed, which is the third stage. They release their genius. And once they release their genius, they can move into the fourth stage. They create a new life song. And a life song is this. It's when your life is aligned with your true purpose. A life song is when your life is aligned with your true purpose. And when that happens, you find joy, you find contentment, you find happiness beyond compare. And then you live in flow, basically every day, because you're in your life song. And that led to the fifth final stage, which I call they found the we spot. And the we spot is this. It's not about their ego anymore. It's not about getting and taking. It's about giving. They move from a me mentality to a we mentality. And once they do that, they give off this amazing energy, and the world responds to them in kind. And I think when you hear these stages, you probably have seen part of them. You probably have seen the father who loses his son to cancer or some other terrible disease, and he starts a charity. You've probably seen that, but I don't know if you've seen that they all go through these stages. And once you've seen them, you will see these everywhere, I guarantee. You'll see them in books, you'll see them in magazines, you'll see them in articles, you'll see them in tweets. Okay, maybe not tweets, but you're going to see them everywhere. You're actually going to even see them in stories you've heard about. Petra Nenkova. She was a supermodel. She was vacationing with her photographer boyfriend in Thailand in 2004 when the tsunami came. Remember that story? And the wave took her boyfriend out to sea, and he lost his life. And that wave took Petra, and it pummeled her, and it broke her bones, but it also lifted her higher. So high she could grab onto the palm fronds of a palm tree. Can you imagine how high that wave was? But that pain that she was suffering for 8 hours, hanging on for dear life, didn't compare to the psychic pain, because as she was hanging on, children were floating by crying, "Help me, help me." She couldn't help them. Can you imagine how that must have felt? So when the water receded and she was rescued, in the hospital she said, "I'm going to do something. This is my wake-up call." She flipped the switch and she said, "I'm going to start a charity for children. I'm going to build schools." But Petra never started a charity, so she got way out of her comfort zone, but she realized strengths and talents she never knew existed. She realized she was a great fundraiser, a great organizer. She went back to school to gain her business savviness, and she started a charity called Happy Hearts Fund. And to date, it's opened more than 100 schools around the world. That is Petra Nenkova's new life song. And she knew she was in her sweet spot, really the we spot, when she was at one of these schools, and the headmaster put his hand on hers and says, "Petra Nenkova, you are a guardian angel." She said that was some of the sweetest words I ever heard. Think about it. Petra Nenkova was really about superficialities, about projecting her image. And the tragedy changed her to her core. And she became a person of purpose, a positive purpose who changed the world. Tragedy doesn't have to beat you up. Tragedy can make you a better person. You can actually fall up. And when I did this research and then heard these stories, it changed me. It changed me because I started seeing the world different. I started speaking different. I started coaching people differently. I started seeing myself differently. And I don't know what happened, but it gave me a jolt of self-awareness, because I too had discovered that I went through these stages. About 8 years ago, 3:30 in the morning, I was waking up like clockwork, and I felt like, almost like a panic attack, like a deep hole depression. My heart was palpitating, my head was tingling. I know some of you feel that same feeling at 3:30 in the morning. And I had no idea why. I was a professor. I was living a good life. I was playing golf almost every day. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? And then I get the wake-up call. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was on Oprah. Remember when he was on Oprah on Tuesdays? And let me just say, yes, I watch Oprah, so don't judge me. And this lady was talking, and she was describing the same exact feelings I had. And he said to her, your physiology is calling you out. You're in a bad relationship, and you must change. And I didn't realize it, but my physiology was calling me out. I was in a bad relationship with my career. Yes, being a professor is a good job, but most professors will tell you that most of the students, all they want to know is, Dr. Steinberg, is this on the test? And how do I get an A in your class? And do I really, really, really have to buy your book? Yes, you would have to buy my book. And what these experiences showed me was that I must change. And so what I did was I started writing books. I started speaking around the world about meaning and purpose, and that feeling went away. It just went away. But I knew I was in my wee spot when I get this letter from a Brazilian priest. It was written in Spanish, so I had to de-Googleize it because I don't speak Spanish. I had written a parenting book called Flying Lessons. It doesn't teach parents how to fly. It teaches parents how to build mental and emotional toughness in their kids so they can soar into life. And it was translated in Spanish. And the words from this Brazilian priest were some of the sweetest words I've ever read. And it said, Dr. Steinberg, God bless you for writing Flying Lessons. We love your book. Can we use it in all your church schools? Can we use it in all our church schools? And I thought, heck no? No, I thought, yes.
What is the name of the book?
Flying Lessons. Flying Lessons. On Amazon for $2.99. At one time, you could buy it for 1 penny. It was published by Thomas Nelson here in town. And so, all these experiences, what they showed me, my own experiences, the research, finding out all these stories like of Petra Dankova, is that your soul cries out for purpose. You must live in purpose. And if you do not, your physiology will find you out. And yes, you can distract yourself by watching endless videos on YouTube about cats with funny hats. You know what I'm talking about. You can distract yourself with hobbies by playing golf or other fun things to do. And you can placate these negative emotions with substances. But eventually, your physiology will find you out. It might find you out in terms of burnout. It might find you out in terms of depression. It might find you out in terms of hopelessness. But eventually, your physiology will find you out if you do not live in purpose. The master emotion is purpose. You must fill your life with purpose. Purpose leads to all these other amazing emotions. And it's really that the way I discovered that purpose was the master emotion was that tragedy is a gift to us. It doesn't seem like it at the time, but it's a gift because it forces us to find this master emotion. It forces us to find purpose. Think about it. When tragedy happened to these people, it shook them and said, wake up, find out who you are, find your purpose. It didn't shake them and say, be happier, be kinder, be more confident, go on a cruise to Jamaica. It didn't say those things. It made them find their purpose. And so really, my hope today is that you realize that you don't need tragedy. You don't need tragedy. But you do need to give yourself the gift. the gift of living in purpose. Because once you are there, you will have all these great emotions. The emotions you seek, like joy and peace of mind and courage and being totally engaged and confident. Purpose is the master emotion. It leads to all these other great emotions. I was just thinking about this a couple days ago. I have a friend, her name's Kim. About 20 years ago, she was an art major. She went to school for 4 years, got her art degree, and she was designing covers, album covers. Remember those things? Remember vinyl back then? And you'd think, and she was making good money, and she was living in LA, and you were thinking that would be a really good job, and she quit. She was really pro-environmental, and she wanted to go back to school and basically work for the environment. So she moved, went up the coast in Northern California, went back to school 4 more years to get undergrad, 2 more years for her grad work. Think about the commitment you have to do that, the courage you have to do that. And I asked her, I said, was that difficult to make that huge change in your life? And she said, the decision was difficult, but once I did it, it was so easy. Because she knew she was in her purpose. She found her life, she realigned her life. And because of that, now she lives a life she'd only imagined. She's an environmental consultant working for the water district up there, and she's happier than you could imagine. And it's because she found purpose. She filled her life with purpose. Think about you. When you know you're doing something that is meaningful and purposeful to you, and you just know it intuitively, you have courage, you have confidence, you have peace of mind. You just know it. Those purpose leads to all the great emotions. These emotions are what make you emotionally tough for every situation. And they start with purpose. And I get this question a lot, well, is purpose an emotion? I never heard that before. Well, think about this. You're shopping. Let's say you're at Publix. You walk out of Publix or wherever you shop, and there's this lady, and she has 2 young kids, and she has a son that says, need food. And you know this is the real deal. This is the real deal. And you don't typically do this, but you look in your wallet or your purse, and you have a 20, and you give it to her, and she says, God bless you, God bless you. What do you feel at that moment? Purpose. You might feel joy, you might feel peace, you might feel whatever, but it comes from that feeling of purpose. Purpose is an emotion, and it controls all the other emotions that we need. So you need to fill your life full of purpose. And when you do that, everything else falls into play. And you can fill your life full of purpose in everything you do. And just an example, let's say you're working with clients, a disgruntled client, but you know what you're doing, you're helping this person secure their employee benefits, and it's so impactful to their life, and they're disgruntled, they're screaming, they're mad at you, but because you know it's so purposeful, that melts away. Because you know you're in purpose. Or you're at home and you got home and your kids are screaming, they're spoiled. They don't want to do what you tell them to do, but you know your purpose as a parent is not to be their friend, but to make them a person of integrity and to have a positive impact on the world. So you are totally committed to what you're saying and confident what you're doing the right thing because you're living in purpose as a parent. Or you know one of your teammates here bothers you because of one of their behaviors or their bad habits. You know what I'm talking about, right? And they bother you and they just kind of they bother your pet peeves or whatever it is, but you know together as a team, you have purpose. And because of that stuff doesn't bother you anymore. Purpose, when it's your center, it leads to this emotional toughness with everything you do. That's why you must fill your life full of purpose. And I want to share with you how to do that specifically. But before I do, let me finish the Ali story and tell you another story and kind of show you how to do that. So yes, the Ali story was about the blue bike, but it wasn't really about his blue bike. It was about his mama. Muhammad Ali loved his mama very much. That's what gave him purpose and a lot of meaning in his life. And his mama worked 3 jobs, and he saw how hard his mama worked. And so when that kid stole his blue bike, he was really stealing from his mama. And so when he stepped in the ring, he was really thinking, you stole from my mama, and I'm going to teach you a lesson you're never, ever going to forget. That's why Muhammad Ali supercharged his emotions, because he had purpose. He created purpose in his life. And so let me tell you a coaching story that will relate more to us, and then I'll share with you how to do it specifically. Excuse me. Mark Dansfield. He was a financial advisor, is a financial advisor. He came to me, it was about 2009, that's when the big recession hit, and he says, oh, I'm so burnt out. Every client is complaining about losing money. It's just wearing me out. And he said, I really like my job. I'm making a lot of money. Can you help me? And I said, well, tell me a story when you were truly inspired, that you had a meaningful impact in the world. And he said, well, I didn't tell you this before, but in my previous life, I was Lieutenant Dansfield. And I was a medic, and I would help surgeons in Afghanistan. And one day, they flew Private Williams in. Well, Private Williams was in the lookout in his Humvee, and his company got ambushed. And he saw they got ambushed. He drove down the Humvee, and bullets were flying everywhere, broke the wall, they jumped in, he drove them to safety. But as he did that, his body was riddled with bullets, 5 bullets. And so he said, we stood over him for 5 hours. We got all the bullets out, he got into a coma, but 3 days later, when he awoken, he gave me the thumbs up, and I knew he was gonna be okay. He said, I just felt so inspired, so purposeful at that moment. And I said, why? He goes, because I was saving lives. I said, well, you're saving economic lives now. So I said, let's use that as your buzzwords. Let's use saving lives as your buzzwords. And let's say your action is going to be thumbs up. And just by chance, someone had taken a picture of him when he was working on Private Williams. And I said, put that on your wallpaper picture for your iPhone. So I said, every time you feel a little emotion dip at work and you feel a little burnt out, I want you to say to yourself, saving lives, do the thumbs up, and look at that picture. Every time. Reset. Every time. Recharge. That's how he's going to push his emotions in the right direction, because he's filling his life full of purpose every day. With the right emotions, you are going to be your happiest, you're going to be most successful. But it stems from filling your life full of purpose. But we're all unique. No one here plays bongo drums naked, I don't think. No one's a boxing champion, so we all kind of have to do our own thing and figure out our own way to do it. So let me explain the life song triad, and then we're actually going to do this. The life song triad, remember the life song is when you feel, really when your life is aligned with your true purpose. And you have to be aware of a situation and situations that you were truly inspired. And you have to understand why. And then once you do that, you have that cornerstone, then you create what I call notes to your life song, which we're going to talk about and we're actually going to do here. And then you're going to be able to play your song, which is every time you get squeezed, every time you feel pressure, that song's going to play. And so you're going to be filled with purposeful emotions. So you'll be at your best, you'll be happiest, because you're doing this life song triad. So the first step is this. And let me just say, I have just created the stage for you, and now we're all actors. And so the greater you participate, the more you get out of it. Okay? So you were a passive participant previously in the last 20 minutes. Now you must be an active participant. So the more you participate, the better it gets. All right. So the first step is I want you to think about right now and write it down. Just do it 2 or 3 sentences. You have to write it down because you'll see what I mean in a minute. A time, a situation, a specific situation where you felt inspired, where you felt a meaningful impact on others or a situation, a group of individuals, specific time where you had a meaningful impact on others or yourself even. So a time you were truly inspired. So go ahead and write that down in 2 or 3 sentences. I know you might not have thought about that, but go ahead and just try to pull one out of the memory.